Hello, and welcome to the Stratford Public Schools Technology Department's digital learning series, Tech Tuesday. Today's session is all about the empowered learner, the foundational standard of the Connecticut Digital Learning Standards, which are based on the International Society for Technology in Education standards, also known as the ISTE standards. This session is designed to give you concrete, actionable strategies and tools that you can use in your classroom to help your students take charge of their own learning. Our goal is to use technology to fundamentally shift our classrooms to a more student-centered model. During this session, we'll dive deep into the Empowered Learner Standard, breaking it down into its 4 key indicators. We'll explore strategies and tools for each one, and then we'll talk about how to implement these ideas in your classroom. We'll finish with a look at all the resources available to you. Think for a moment about your own learning journey. When did you feel most engaged? Most connected to the material? It was likely when you had a say in what you were doing. The same is true for our students. We're moving away from a model where we, as teachers, are the sole source of knowledge, and into a model where we become guides. Our role is to help students become independent learners, guiding them in setting learning goals, tracking their progress, and showing what they know in new and creative ways. The Connecticut Digital Learning Standard Empowered Learner is a powerful one. It states, students leverage technology to take an active role in choosing, achieving, and demonstrating competency in their learning goals, informed by the learning sciences. This standard is a call to action to help students take charge of their own learning. We want them to develop a growth mindset, understanding that their abilities can be improved with hard work and persistence. This standard is the foundation for all other digital learning skills. Let's begin with our first indicator, 1.1.A. Learning goals. This is all about helping students connect their personal needs and interests to their academic goals. It's about empowering them to answer the big questions. What do I want to learn? How will I get there? And how will I know I've succeeded? A simple and effective tool for this is Google Forms. It allows you to create a digital form where students can set their goals at the beginning of a unit. You can include questions like, what is a topic you're interested in learning more about in this unit? And, what is one specific skill you want to master? As their teacher, you get all the responses in a single Google Sheet. This makes it easy to track their progress, provide personalized support, and see their interests at a glance. Let's take a moment while Dr. Eckler shows you the basics of using a Google form.
Hey everyone, Dr. Eckler here. I am going to show you how to use a Google form to collect student goal setting to align with the standard. So you're going to go into your Drive and you're going to click on New, and then you click on Google Forms. And that will bring up a brand new Google form for you. Now I want to give you a trick before we even get started. Name your form. You don't want to lose it later. You want to make sure you can find it in your Drive. And if you click up here in this part to name your form, it's automatically going to change the name here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this Student Goal Setting Unit 1. And you'll see that when I click off, it has updated so that my title is here as well. Now, I want to make sure that I know exactly who is submitting this form, so I am not going to adjust this. This setting right here is an automatic setting in Google Forms where it's automatically going to request emails from students. Now, I might recommend one thing by clicking on changing settings, and here it says responder input where they have to enter their own email address. I might change it to verified. That means that Google is going to automatically pull in their email address and they're just going to have to check and say, yes, that's my email address. I'm going to go back here to questions and I'm going to start by putting in last name, first name. I like to do last name and first name separately because last name and first name separately allows me to then sort my information by the student's last name later on. So I'm going to do last name. And then I'm going to come over here to this menu bar for my Google Forms, and I'm going to click Add Question. And that's going to bring me to another question in my Google form. This time I'm going to add first name. Now you'll see that Google Forms does adjust the type of question based upon what you've answered. And there's a whole bunch of different question types that you can add in. And so in this case, it's recognizing that it wants someone to enter a first name and it's a short answer question. Let's take a look at some of the other parts here of what is involved in creating a Google form. Here you can mark this as required or not required. I do want this to be a required question. When it is required, you'll notice this little red star comes up. I want to make sure that my students are putting in their names. You can delete a question if you need to, and you can also duplicate a question if you need to. So for first name, last name, you could duplicate and just go in and update it a little bit. This is especially helpful if you have questions where it has the same answers, but different questions. You duplicate and just change the question itself. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now add a title and description to this. This is just an area where I want my students to be able to see what the next part of the form is, but they're not actually answering anything. So I'm going to actually call this SMART goal. And then I'm going to add here, this is where you will add your SMART goals. And so this is going to show up in my form. Let's come up here. We can preview it. It's going to show up in my form as just a place here that shows them that that's the next thing they're doing. Let's go back to preview mode. So this is back in where I'm creating my form. And we're going to go ahead and add another question. So in this case, I'm going to maybe ask my students, what is your goal for this unit? And I'm going to leave this as a paragraph form because I want that. And I want to add a little qualifier underneath here. So this is the question. I'm going to click on these three dots and I'm going to go ahead and add in a description. And what that will allow me to do is to tell my students, make sure your goal is SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound. We forgot one. Relevant. It's not a SMART goal, it's a SMART goal. Relevant and time bound. Now, obviously, you would have had to teach your students about this before they write their SMART goals. They're not going to know what all of that means. But if you've taught it to them how to write a goal, now they're going to do that. Now, I might add another question in that asks them, how will you measure your goal? And that would allow my students to maybe write up how they would measure their goal. Now, you might also want to add in here something with, I love this new rating scale. How important is this goal to your success in Unit 1? And have your students rate it. And this would allow you to then see just how important they think this goal is. And there's really a very simple goal setting form that you could use with your students. But then the question becomes, first of all, how do I make sure my students get this? So let's start with publishing. You have to publish your form. So you click on publish. And then what I like to do here is not do responder view anyone in the Stratford Public Schools. I like to do restricted and click done. And then when I go ahead and add this later to my my Google Classroom, it will actually make it so that only those students can access that form. And you can copy this responder link here to add into your Google Classroom, or you can just go in and add it to Google Classroom through the Drive, and then add this, and it'll ask you to add the students to it. Now, the other thing that you need to know is how to collect the responses. So here, once a student responds, you will start to see the information come through. But an even better way to look at that is to click here with this link to Google Sheets and create a sheet. Because now you have all of their information, the email address, last name, first name, what is their goal, how did they measure their goal, how important is the goal, and you can here add notes. You can add in a grade column if you wanted. So you can actually add additional things here where you're going to be able to keep track of information based upon student goals.
Our next indicator is 1.1.b, customized learning environments. This is about helping students build their own networks of resources and tools. It's about teaching them how to organize their digital space in a way that helps them learn most effectively. This can be as simple as helping them organize their Google Drive folders, or as complex as building their own learning hub. For this, a fantastic tool is Google Sites. It's a free, easy-to-use tool that allows students to build their own digital portfolios or personal learning sites. They can embed documents, videos, and links to other resources. For example, a student could create a site for a science project. The homepage could have their overall goal, and then they can have separate pages for their research, their data, and their final presentation. This teaches them organization and allows them to curate all their work in one central, customizable location. Let's take a moment while Dr. Eckler shows you the basics of using Google Sites.
Hey everyone, Dr. Eckler again. This is going to be a very simplified overview of Google Sites, just getting the basics in. Google Sites can be very simple or very complicated, but we're going to start very simply. So again, you're in your Drive, and you click on New, and then you're actually going to have to go to this More button here and then go down to Google Sites. And that's going to bring up a blank Google site. Now, the first thing I know all students want to do is play around with colors and everything. I will show you briefly how to do that. But I think the most important thing to do first is going to be to title your site, because that way, when students go to publish it, you will be able to know whose it is. So we're going to title the site. And then we're going to come over here to themes. And these are some of the themes that are already pre-created in here that students can choose from. Yes, they can create their own. Yes, they can make changes. But honestly, I generally tend to start here when I'm working with students because it's simple and easy. And there's a lot of things that they can choose from. So here I have my page title. Let's just change up my font. We'll make it that. And so now I have my basics of my Google site ready to go. Let's give it a name. We're going to call it the same thing. And of course, you know, students are going to end up wanting to change around backgrounds and all of that, but that's not what we're really going with right now. Now you'll see it went on to 2 lines and I want to make it still only on 1 line. So I drag, and then I can actually drag this and center it on my header right here. And there we go. Now I have it on the center. Now students can insert all different kinds of content into this page. So there's all these content blocks that are pre-built here. So let's say they want to include an image with some text and some summary of that text. They can actually do 3 different things. This is called an image carousel. There is a second type of image. I'm sorry, these are image carousels. These are just the solid ones. Image carousels actually down here, which is really neat as well. So a student can add multiple images to this and then they'll be able to click through it. There's all different ways they can customize their pages with different information. Now, as they want to add pages to their portfolio, they can go ahead and so let's say we're going to add senior projects to this. We're going to add that in, click done, and now we have a page called Senior Project. You'll see that it's now we can go to our home page where I've added all of those elements, and then we come here and it'll show you this is my senior project. Maybe they're actually freshmen, and so they're going to have a project for each year. So we're going to add them all in here, and they're going to be able to have a page for each of those projects. Let's just add in freshmen because I want to show you an interesting thing students can do here. So now we have all these separate pages and they show up across the top. But let's say this is only one part of their portfolio and you want these grouped. What you could have students do is come down here to new page, and instead we'll do a new menu section and we'll call it grade level projects. And what's going to happen now is that's going to show up the top. These are all still here, but we can now drag and add these different projects to this kind of grouping. And so now they'll have grade level projects and they can actually click here and it'll show all the different projects. They can do that in a variety of options. There's all different ways to do that. On each of these pages, they can then customize them how they want, just like they did the first one. So let's say I'm going to add a table of contents, and then I'm going to add some text, and then maybe I'm going to add in a calendar or a YouTube video. There's a variety of things. We can put in a placeholder that says, I know I'm going to put something here. I just don't know what that is yet. So they can put in a placeholder. There's all different things. It's really just drag and drop, and they can organize it how they want. Now, the biggest piece of the puzzle is how do you publish this? We don't want students publishing Google Sites out to the general public. So what I would do is I would go here and just say anyone in the Stratford Public Schools can view. I can also change this to just certain people. So let's say I only want to share it with my teacher. And I want my teacher to be a published viewer. I don't want my teacher to be able to edit. They're just a published viewer of my document. I can also publish my site to the entire Stratford Public Schools. That doesn't mean people can search for it. That just means that if you send it to anyone who has an @stratk12.org email address, they'd be able to view it. You can also publish by groups. So let's say here you had a class group that you created for them to share to. I can go ahead here and just share this with the IT department as published viewers. They're my group, and that would do that. And then you would click the share button here. Once you click the share button and it's been published, every time a student makes an update to this page, they can just click the publish button and it'll automatically go to those same people every single time. Like I said, super simple overview of a Google site, great opportunity for students to use for projects, but you can get way more intricate and detailed with it, but this is kind of giving you the overview.
Next, we have 1.1.c. Feedback to improve practice. This standard focuses on two key things: helping students seek feedback on their work and giving them multiple ways to demonstrate their understanding. This moves us beyond the traditional essay or test and into a world of more authentic assessment. Kami is a perfect tool for this indicator. If you provide students with a PDF of an assignment or a reading, they can use Kami to annotate, highlight, and add comments. You can also provide feedback directly in the document using voice or video comments. This allows for a more personalized feedback loop. For example, a student could record a short video explaining their thought process on a math problem, and you could leave a voice comment offering specific praise or suggestions for improvement. Let's take a moment for Dr. Eckler to show us a brief tutorial on Kami.
Okay, this is going to be a super quick, super brief preview of what Kami can do for you. Unfortunately, our AI host does call it Kami in some cases, but it's actually Kami, K-A-M-I, and we do have the premium version here in Stratford. So you're going to go to your web browser and you're going to go to kami.app. It may ask you to sign in. If it does, sign in with your Stratford account. And then this is your basic page. There are a wide variety of things you can do. You can upload PDFs. You can upload different documents that you have, and you can have some of their templates here. There's all different things that you can do. But I'm going to go ahead and start with a blank page, just a blank letter size page to show you some of the things that Kami can do for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by adding a text box here. And I'm going to just click and I'm going to type in a few different things here. We'll just go with the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dogs. Okay, so that is going to give you just something so you can hear how it reads out loud. So the first thing that's going to happen is when you start to edit, it's going to ask you to save it to your drive. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my Google Drive. What it does, it creates a folder in your drive called Kami where all of your Kami documents are stored. So the first thing I want to show you is this is really cool. When you upload a document that has text on it, you can actually ask Kami to read it out loud. So I'm going to select my text.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dogs.
And you'll see here that it actually read that text out loud. I can go ahead and also highlight my text. I can do a text highlighter, which will allow me to highlight on the page like this. I can highlight. There's a box highlighter, so if I wanted to put a box over something, I could. I can strike through different things in here. Now, this is text I added from Cami, so strike through would only work on a PDF upload of text. Same with underline. I can change the colors. I can do all different things with my highlighting. So if I wanted my students to annotate some text, I can easily do that. I can actually comment on this. So there's a couple different ways. I can text comment if I wanted to. I can add a voice comment. That was a really great job you did. Nope, it's not recognizing my voice. See, look, this is how we handle things. So let's try that again. We're going to go ahead, and it might not work just because I'm recording separately. So let's see. Yeah, it's not recognizing my microphone, unfortunately, because I'm recording into the system, but you would be able to record a comment and send that back. You could also add a video comment. Oh, I have to pause this one first. Add a quick video comment. You'll have to allow it. There I am. Hi, everyone. I can go ahead. Let's exit picture in picture so you can see. Hi, there you go. There's your video comment. So you have the opportunity to do these things in here, and then students would be able to play that back. You can actually do a screen capture in here. So if I wanted to screen capture this particular document, I can do that. You can also screen capture other things throughout what you're doing. So there's a variety of ways to add comments. Like I said before, there's text boxes. So, oops, we are still recording. Let's stop that. Okay, there we go. We can do text boxes. We can add those in anywhere. We can do drawing. So if you want your students to draw, they can draw all over it. If they have a stylus on a touch screen, that's super easy. You can add in different shapes. I'm going to add in an oval. There's just a variety of things you can do with Cami. You can add in media. So if you have a video you want to add, you could search for images on Google. So let's look for an image of my favorite dog, a beagle. So let's just put it in there. It's a cute little beagle there. And Google should, Cami will, generally speaking, always look for documents and images that fall under Creative Commons, so you can use them. What else can we add? Let's see. We can add in YouTube videos. You can actually create graphic organizers right within it. So if I wanted to put in a Venn diagram, that's really hard to see because I made a mess of this page. But you can see there's a Venn diagram there. There's all different ways that you can use Cami to assist your students. There's more that Cami can do, but this is your basic overview. There are Cami training courses offered through Cami. Eventually, we will do a Cami course in the district, similar to the way we're handling a Canva course right now. So, but Cami is one of those tools that you can't break it, and the options are pretty much endless.
Finally, we have 1.1.D. Technology Fundamentals. This is about teaching our students to be thoughtful and effective users of technology. It's about helping them understand how to choose the right tool for the job and how to explore new technologies safely and effectively. It's our responsibility to help them move beyond just being consumers of technology to being savvy creators and explorers. For exploring emerging technologies like AI, Magic School AI is a fantastic tool. You can use it to generate creative project ideas that require students to use technology in a new way. For example, you can input a learning standard and ask it to generate a project where students create a public service announcement using a specific video editing tool. You can even ask it to generate prompts for students to reflect on how technology is changing their world. Let's take a brief moment to see how Magic School works with Dr. Eckler.
Okay, so I'm in Magic School, and for this one, I'm actually going to use Raina, who is the Magic School bot, and I am going to ask her exactly what our AI host asked about, which is to create a public service announcement. So I'm focusing on first graders. So this lesson is for first grade science. specifically standard, and we're going to put in the NGSS standard there. I want my students to use technology to create public service announcements. I know that's a lot for a second grader or first grader, but let's give it a go and see what Rena comes up with. I have Google, Kami, and Magic School available to me as tools. Let's see what Rena comes up with. Give her a moment to generate. Okay, so she has a lesson here. Students will use observations to describe the basic needs of plants and animals. She used everything here. So let's say I want to focus on, for this one, I want to focus on the basics of Google Slides. Let's get those first graders getting some basic understanding of Google Slides here. Okay, so she has us doing a pre-made Google Slides template for them, having them find images and then headphones. So this way here, there's 3 slides with a simple public service announcement students would have to do. So you would have to teach them the content of science first, and then go ahead and do this kind of guided practice and create their PSA. That's a great way to integrate technology into what our students are doing. Let's try one other thing. Let's go back to the next generation science standards, and let's look for a different grade level. So we're going to say, let's go with our high school standards here. Let's find one for something that would lend itself to. Okay, so here's something on matter and its absorption of energy. So we're going to go back to Rena, and I'm going to go up here and click New Chat and say this is an 11th grade science class. This is the standard we are working with. Standard I am working with. Give Rena the standard. I want students to create a public service announcement using technology. They can choose from Google Slides or Google Vids to create their PSA. Let's see what she comes up with. So she takes a minute. All right. So let's see. Students will develop a model illustrating how energy is released or absorbed during chemical reactions based on changes in total bond energy. Not a science person, not 100% sure what that is, but if I were in the class, I'm hoping I would. And they're going to create a public service announcement. And so here they're actually going to research and then talk about their public service announcement. And they're going to have the opportunity to use either Google Slides or Google Vids to create this. So this is just one way to use Rena to be able to help you figure out how you might integrate technology into the work that you're doing with your students.
Ready to implement these ideas? You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Pick one of these strategies and try it with one unit or one assignment. For example, start by using a Google form to have students set one learning goal for the week. Once they're comfortable with that, you can add another layer. It's all about small, manageable steps. All the materials for this session are available for you right now. We've included a customizable student goal setting worksheet in a Google Docs format, a detailed guide to using Google Forms for goal tracking, and a list of articles on student agency and personalized learning. We also have a toolbox guide with step-by-step instructions for getting started with Kami, Google Slides, and Magic School AI. Visit the Google Classroom for access to all of these tools. Thank you for joining us today and for your commitment to empowering your students. We look forward to seeing you at our next session, where we will dive into the Digital Citizen Standard.